Hello, this is Adam Bernard with AutoPerspectives, and welcome back to the News Roundup. It's been an interesting past week or so in the auto industry, so let's look at some of the more interesting things happening on the product side of the business. We'll start with a bit of a unicorn. It's a new car. A sedan actually, made of steel from a legacy brand that has no electrification whatsoever. In other words, it's something of a unicorn. This is the 2026 Nissan Sentra, and it is going to be the cheapest new car in America after the Nissan Versa, which will sit alongside it in the showroom. It is pretty much all new inside and out, with the exterior picking up cues from the new Nissan Murano and the Aria, which, by the way, is disappearing temporarily from the US coming this fall. It is a little larger, more of a focus on aero, although they don't list an actual drag coefficient. You can see in the upper right, the interior actually looks kind of nice. It is not black on black, my least favorite interior. The up-level SL is shown with kind of a pale gray and blue interior. So that's blue on the dashboard and the doors. So that's kind of nice and upscale looking. The base instrument cluster is a digital 7-inch unit. The up level that you see here is a 12.3-inch cluster, and it's alongside a 12.3-inch touchscreen. So the dual screen layout we see in so many vehicles these days, so not terribly original there. And unfortunately, along the way, you do lose your physical climate controls. It's been a big debate these days in the business, but this is a cost-cutting focused machine, so no surprise that they got rid of those. You do, however, on the flip side, do get a standard adaptive cruise control, emergency braking, and forward collision warning. So there was some nice safety tech included on the base Sentra. Under the hood is equally uninspiring. As I mentioned before, it is not electrified. It is the carryover 149 horsepower, 2-liter, 4-cylinder engine, and an equally uninteresting CVT. You do get a multi-link suspension. The trim that you're looking at here is the SR, which unfortunately is purely aesthetic. It does look a little different from the other Sentras, but it doesn't feel any different. The suspension doesn't get tweaked. The engine doesn't get tweaked. It's just another different way to look and outfit the car. So if you're looking for an affordable gasoline-powered sedan, Nissan has a newer choice for you. Meanwhile, Volvo has performed a substantial upgrade to their EX90 SUV flagship. This is the 2026 model, and the first thing that might pop into your head is, gosh, it looks exactly like last year's vehicle, and that's true. All the big upgrades are happening under the skin. The first is that the 400-volt electrical architecture, which we see on a lot of EVs these days, especially outside of the luxury area, has been switched to an 800-volt system. Because the ES90 is sharing the platform with the EX90, it was relatively simple, but still not child's play, to transport the 800-volt system into the EX90. So that takes the charge speed from 250 kilowatts up to 350 kilowatts, or about 120 miles on the EPA cycle in 10 minutes, which is, again, not as fast as filling up with gasoline, but better. You also get a slight mass reduction due to a smaller battery and smaller motors. The second big upgrade is in the computer processing side of the business. There's a new dual NVIDIA Drive AGX Orin chipset, which now performs at 500 trillion operations per second, or TOPS. That appears to be comparable to Tesla's HW4 or Hardware 4. And a bonus, while the 800-volt system won't be retrofitted to any existing Volvos, the chipset will. So if you did buy an EX90 a year ago and you want to get the faster chipset, you can go to your dealer and they will do an upgrade. This new chipset adds the ability to steer away from cyclists and pedestrians in the dark, because Volvo is, of course, very safety-oriented. And Volvo has said they are planning 4 major software updates annually, so there'll be additional upgrades coming along the way. You probably have not heard of Vanderhall. Vanderhall is a Utah-based startup that was founded about 15 years ago. They initially launched a gasoline-powered 2-seat 3-wheeler, which is legally a motorcycle, but still kind of cool and retro. And now we have the Brawley. The Brawley is a $50,000 4-passenger electric off-roader. It is technically a UTV, so not a full-fledged passenger vehicle like a Jeep Wrangler, so not subject to all the safety regs. But it is fully enclosed, and it does have heating and air conditioning, which a lot of UTVs don't offer. The 4 independent motors generate 404 horsepower, so it's got plenty of muscle for going off-road. The 40 kilowatt hour battery is obviously a little on the small side, and the 140-mile range means you're not going to take this for any long distance trips. You do get the option of a larger battery for a 200-mile range if you're so inclined. As you might imagine, aerodynamics not a big priority with this particular vehicle. But you do get 18 inches of ground clearance, 20 inches of suspension travel, and 35-inch all-terrain tires. And it even includes a Hummer-like crab mode. So again, if you've already got 5 or 6 fun vehicles in your garage and looking for yet another toy, this might wind up on your shopping list. You might remember last week I talked about Dreame. This is the Chinese automotive appliance firm that makes vacuum cleaners like Dyson in the UK. And their CEO has decided he wants to get into the EV business and has apparently been working on it for about 9 months. So last week we saw their, well, let's call it what it was, Bugatti ripoff coming out of Dreame Automotive. And now we have the second half of the equation, which is Starry Automotive, which is designed to target Rolls-Royce and Bentley. And as you can see, they're very much targeting Rolls-Royce with this Cullinan lookalike, which does not have a name yet. The wheelbase is only about 4 inches shorter than the Cullinan, and so yeah, it's pretty much about right on top of it in terms of size and proportion. It does share the Cullinan's coach doors, but in this case, they took the B-pillar out to make entry and exit even easier. The interior features a full-length console and 2 individual rear seats that recline about 145 degrees, so quite comfortable inside. And it uses what Dreame calls their cell-to-pack 4.0 technology. I'm not sure how you get to 4.0 from a company that is just starting. I think that would be 1.0. But cell-to-pack is something that a lot of other Chinese automakers have been pursuing, basically to get the modules out of the way, reduce cost and complexity. There's a 100 kilowatt-hour battery and an available range extender. So this is either going to be an EV or an E-Rev when it goes on sale. Dreame had talked about price points in the $40,000 to $80,000 range. So if they stick to that, this vehicle will be far less expensive than a Cullinan, but with a lot of the visual impact. We'll have to wait until 2027 when both Dreames are expected to hit the market. And finally, we have another round on the EV Foxtrot, where we look at a couple of automotive brands that have decided to do things a little differently when it comes to EVs. On the left, we have the Porsche K1, which is the flagship Porsche SUV, a 3-row SUV that would sit above the Cayenne, which was announced a few years ago, targeting a 2027 launch. Now, in 2022, Porsche's CFO said, quote, "We believe Porsche is at the sweet spot of the luxury car BEV transition." However, in the past year or so, things have not been working out so well for Porsche from an EV standpoint. Taycan sales are way down. The Macan Electric got off to a much later than expected start due to some software issues. And Porsche's goal of having 80% of their volume EV by 2030 has long since been scrapped. And now Porsche is investing over $3.5 billion to extend the lifespan of their ICE vehicles. And that includes extending Panamera and Cayenne in their internal combustion forms into the next decade with some significant updates, which we will eventually see. The K1 was intended to launch as an electric-only vehicle off of the new PPE architecture. That's premium platform electric. It will now launch with either ICE or plug-in hybrid drivetrains, which suggests it's moving to PPC, premium platform combustion. That's the platform underpinning the latest Audi A5 and A6 and the upcoming Porsche Macan ICE replacement. And we also believe that the previously planned Panamera Electric has been scrapped, and that vehicle will remain as ICE and plug-in hybrid as well. In addition, while we are expecting the Boxster and Cayman to go electric, Porsche has now said that the high-end variants of those vehicles will be internal combustion. It's unclear if this means carrying over the current architecture in low volumes, which Porsche might be able to pull off, or somehow trying to figure out how to drop an internal combustion engine into the electric platform that was developed for the new Boxster and Cayman. On the right, we have Bentley, and that is Bentley's first EV, which was supposed to have been revealed this year. It's now going to be revealed next year and go on sale in 2027. It has been described as an urban SUV, so something smaller than a Bentayga, will probably be the smallest Bentley in the portfolio. That vehicle is still on track. But the plan to be all EVs by 2035, which was a delay of the plan to be there by 2030, has been scrapped. And Bentley has said the internal combustion engine now has a lot more life left in it. As a result, while the original thought was to make the next generation Bentayga, Continental, and Flying Spur, electric, they will now be internal combustion and plug-in hybrid. So they'll be carrying over versions of existing hardware and maybe even pick up some of the newer hardware from the VW Group's PPC platform. So, kind of unfortunate, but that's the reality of the internal combustion and the EV markets today. So we've seen a couple of automakers here adjusting their plans, and there are probably additional adjustments to come from other automakers. So stand by. That about wraps up the news for this week. If you like what you see, please subscribe and share. Visit AutoPerspectives.net to find out more about us and to visit the blog. And we look forward to seeing you back here again in about 7 days. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.